So a trust is the fourth recognised structure that you can set your business up in Australia. You can have, well, apart from a public company, well, there's a couple of other ones. But for a startup business, there's about 4. You can't be a public company because that's $500,000 to go into that. There's a couple of non-for-profits, but we're going for a profit organisation, so you can create an association, which is what we have done. But there's basically the choices between 4. The fourth one that you consider is setting up a trust. So let me just go, what is a trust? Trusts have been around for, thousands and thousands of years. Basically, it used to be used that a father might put money in trust for their children, that when they go to university, there's some money there for them to draw down. So they put money aside. They mightn't be around to manage it because they're a bit worried about them there, so they get a younger person to be the trustee of that trust, and that person is given instructions that when my daughter gets to a certain age, you will use that money for education. So if you understand that if you like, this is me, and I give $50,000 into a trust. So I give that money away to a trust, and I put it in a trust, and then I get a trustee to manage that trust on behalf of a beneficiary.
Can you be a trustee though?
You wouldn't be one. I'll explain that, but you wouldn't. It's not a smart position to do.
Yeah.
Because what you're trying to do in this situation is you're trying to break this link between you and the money. Because this is what happens. This is the beneficiary, right? Now what you do is you create a trust deed. You create a trust deed that instructs the trustee as to how they're to spend the money. So when you come to the question of ownership, and this is one of the clever things about trust, is you say, do I own this money anymore? I don't. I've actually given it away to a trust. I've given it to the trust. It's no longer my money. Don't bother suing me over that money. I don't own it. The trustee, I will sue the trustee. Trustee don't own the money. Trustee is just under instructions to spend that money according to the trustee. I will go after the beneficiary. The beneficiary says, it's not my money. I don't get the money until the trustee, it's not my money. I don't own the money. I don't control the money. It's not my money. So what we've got there is we've got $50,000 that's just gone into a situation where no one owns it. So you can imagine trying to sue for that money. Who are you going to sue? There's no one to sue.
Can you wait until the beneficiary gets the money?
But it's not the beneficiary's problem. What have they done wrong? That they have to do that. You see, no one in a trust. What happens when you create this arrangement is that basically money goes off into the ether. It goes into that place that no one touches. And my son is a liquidation accountant. That's what he does. That's what he does for a living. And he says as soon as they come across a business that's set up as a trust, they know that it's a corporate veil. They can't touch it. They can't reach around. It's all covered. And so. This was an arrangement many, many thousands of years ago that was set up. It's a constant thing where people set aside money for the purpose of some beneficiary and they ask a trustee to manage it on their behalf. This has been around for years. But what's happened is that in Australia, somewhere back in our convict past, which can only be where it came from, we accepted this as a legal or as a legitimate business structure. We are the only ones in the world that recognise this structure as a legitimate business structure. Everyone else says it's a legitimate structure for passing money on to your kids and all that, but no one says you can trade a business as what they call a trading trust. We're the only ones that do it, bizarrely, because every other country in the world says it's a way to scam creditors. And you know what it is? That's exactly what it is. But our convict past has allowed us to accept something that's designed to scam creditors as a legitimate way to do business. Because we've been doing it for a couple of 100 years, why not keep it going? And what's happened since then is every politician has one of them.
How do you know if a business is operating under a trust?
Yeah, usually it's declared on their checkbook, which I'll show you in a minute. But so what's happened? Let's run through it. It's an arrangement. It's an arrangement is the real thing what a trust is, where the entity trustee, agrees to hold assets for the benefit of others, beneficiaries. You're the trust creator, if you like. You're the settler. So the me in this arrangement is called the settler. The interesting thing is, the one that they do try and sue is this guy here. They try and sue that guy. But you know what you can do? In the matter of a second, you can actually appoint another trustee to manage your trust. You ring him and say, you're no longer the trustee, appoint a new trustee. Meanwhile, that trustee can go off and fight the legal battle all they like. Basically, you've severed the tie between that trustee and the asset. Amazing thing. It's designed, the rest of the world, the other 200 countries in the world, recognise this system as a way to scam creditors. In Australia, it's a legitimate form of setting up. Yeah?
I used to work for my employer was run by a trust, and they were capped on their profits and everything. Is that a common aspect of trust? Like they could only make a certain amount. So and that was like a constant thing they talked about was like they couldn't make too much money.
Okay, well that will be in the trust deed, but what a silly thing to put in the trust deed. But anyway, but obviously, so you're the settler. As the settler, you still have control over who's going to be the trustee. And you can sack and reappoint a trustee within as much as a phone call or an email, that person's sacked, and let them go off and fight the thing. Meanwhile, your business continues with a new trustee. So, where do we at? By buying assets in the trust, you don't hold the assets in your name. The assets are legally controlled by the trustee. So they are the legal person responsible. But as you understand, they don't feel that they own it. In fact, they don't own it. The only thing you can sue them over is if they've misbehaved in terms of their trust deed. As long as they've conducted themselves according to the trust deed and have conducted themselves according to the law, they can't be touched. But in terms of trying to sue the trustee to get your hands on the money, good luck. Don't happen. So regardless of what happens in life, your assets are protected from the loss. That's what trusts are all about. Well, that's one of the major aspects of it. So you can see why every politician has one. And this is the trouble. They're never going to change this law in Australia because every time they put it to the vote, 100 people from both sides of the house say, let's keep it going, you know, because it's a form, it's just become part of our Australian way of life, and somehow we've dealt with the fact that it's also used to scam creditors. And somehow they've got other protections that try and stop that. But really, we're the only place in the world that actually allows that. Trust as an asset protection, it is the Rolls-Royce of business structures. If you came to me or went to any accountant and said, money's not an object, I just want to set up the most secure business structure that allows me to get the most tax effective and secures all the assets, they say, come here, we'll sign you up and set you up as a trust. That's what they would all do. Cost, I'm having a guess here at today's price of probably $3,000, around that sort of price, to set up a company. $1,000 to $1,200 once the solicitor and the accountants put their fees on top of the trust. Partnership, the cost of doing an agreement, a couple of $100. Sole trader, $50. $100 to go and register a business name.
Can money from the trust be invested?
Yeah, yeah. This can now trade as a proper business. Let's see how it goes. So it protects your financial interests as well as everyone else. It reduces tax strategically. The trouble with a company is the only way to get money out of a company, the profit from a company, is the person actually has to do something as a wage earner. And it's very hard for a 3-year-old very hard to convince the government that 3-year-old was busy serving in the shop, wasn't it? You can try, but they're going to go, my daughter was 5 and she was on the till charging $500. So, you know, she has a really smart business head, my daughter. And I put her up on the milk crate and she'd stand there because she saw how Dad did it, put her in the uniform, and the first customer, she said, $500, please. Well, that kid's going place. I'll take an investment. How do we get onto that? So the trouble with the company, to get money out of a company in dividends, you've got to pay tax, and so you try and give it to your kids. But the trouble is, the tax department says, "How can a 3-year-old do that?" Under the beneficiaries, if the kid is 1 week old, they can get $18,000 tax free. Government's clamped down a little bit more on that recently. They are picking on people that are underage, under 18 years old, getting money from a trust, and they are making that a bit hard. But in the days when it was originally set up, that's how it is. There's massive tax distribution benefits by having a trust, because the beneficiaries can be anyone. They can be your great-grandmother. You know, they can be, as long as they're hopefully still alive. But when you see the trust deeds that they've written, it's your friend, your friend's flatmate, your Facebook friends, friends of a flatmate on Facebook. You know, they write it so that the beneficiaries can be anyone. And so if you're a beneficiary of the trust, under Australian tax law, if you get $18,000 in earnings for the year, you actually don't pay any tax. So you've got a family of 5 people, you dish them all out $18,000 each. So there you go, no tax to pay, because they've all earned $18,000 each. If I was a sole trader and I earned 5 1s are 5, 5 8s are 40, if I earned $90,000, I'd be paying $30,000 in tax. So as a sole trader, I pay $30,000 in tax. As a trust, I pay nothing, because I dished out $18,000 to all the beneficiaries. You don't tell them that you know, this is the important thing as a parent, you don't tell your kids that they earned $18,000 last year. You say, you tell the tax department that, but you make sure it stays in your bank account.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Yeah, and when they get old and they go and look back through the records and they say, "Dad, you actually owe me $380,000 because I've earned that." You say, "No, you didn't." Minus education, minus wear and tear, minus education, emotional trauma. You still owe me $1 million, so stop carrying on. Okay, where are we up to here? Oh, back here. There's no one-size-fits-all. What did I say there? Discretionary trust is the one. There's a whole lot of different. There's unit trust. You've probably heard about that with investing in buildings. There's a whole lot of different forms of trust. They used to call it a family trust. We now call it discretionary. In other words, it's up to the trustee how the money is to be split. It's split at the discretion of the trustee, but the trustee is controlled by the trustee, and so they will distribute the money according to the trustee. So it's discretionary in the sense that it can be distributed to anyone. It doesn't even have to be a family member. It can be, it can be cousins, or it can be people that aren't related to the family. Big advantages: not dissolved. There's no real liability in that, because only the trustee is the legal entity, and this is what we do to even complicate it further. You know, those creditors, they got no chance, because you know what we make the trustee? We make the trustee a Pty Ltd company. Have you got a handle of that? We created a new entity, and wait. It's got $2. So the trustee that's managing your trust, which can't be reached, but if this legal entity does get sued, it's a $2 shelf company. Good luck. There's no chance. There isn't. Like my son says, he goes to them, sees the trustee, and says, "Well, nothing to do here, guys. Just sell what we can, pay who we can. Let's go on to the next one." So to make it even more protected, we make a proprietary limited company the trustee, and then quite often, you know how you said before, I want to be the trustee. No, but you might be the director of this company. You direct the trustee company, which controls the trust, which has got money that no one can touch. Yeah? Sorry, that's why you need to have a break. I warned you, didn't I? So all the profits of the trust have to be distributed. It creates the corporate veil of protection. The trust is not open to security. That's the amazing thing as well. There is nowhere to go and check out about a person's trust. You know, you can go and find out about the proprietary limited company. You can go down to ASIC, do a search, and you can get all about the directors and all that. And then you say, "Can I now have a look at the trust deed?" Trust deed is a private document. It's sitting in the trustee's office, lock and key. Does not have to share that with anyone. It's a private arrangement between two individuals, you know. So you've got this incredible system that's so not transparent, that's designed to rip off people and creditors. And so, of course, the banks do business with these sort of things. They don't normally like the trust in there. They come to accept it, but they get around it by just coming around saying, whatever you've set up, Pete, you guarantee it personally. And you give us your assets as the guarantee. So for all your corporate veil stuff, we've still got you. But creditors have got no chance. Creditors are the people you do buy stock from and all this sort of stuff. You know, or your landlord, or like your landlord's got a bond. So everyone has protected themselves in this system except for what they call unsecured creditors. And you would see that in the building trade a lot, where unsecured creditors, someone goes broke, the boss moves it out, gets no money for it. Disadvantages, most expensive to set up. I'm just having a guess there, but I mean, when I set up quite a few years ago, about $10,000, the first trust I ever set up. I think ours, I don't think it was that, it's a couple of $1,000, was it? It's probably, I think, as a budget, you know, if it's $3,000, that's probably about right. That gets you probably a trustee proprietary limited company, and that sets up their trustee and does all the you know, the particular thing. You won't need to change the trustee that much. It just simply says when you read it, it's quite a fun thing to read. When it says who the beneficiaries are, it does get down to, you know, your Facebook's friend flatmate. It is that wide. They just write everyone in there who can be a beneficiary. So what else? Difficult to administer. You do need professional help with it. You are going to be seeing your accountant a lot when you've got a trust. It is difficult to raise capital, like not impossible, but it creates a difficulty. If you ask the bank, they'd probably much rather deal with just a proprietary limited company, no trust involved, and you prepared to give personal guarantees. That sort of business raises funds quite easily. That sort of business is an easy franchise business and all that. The one that has the trust in it creates complications. Profits distributed to children under 18 may end up getting taxed, and that's just the recent thing that's come in. But even so, it's not at the rate that is as a wage earner. They've just said, look, we've got to sort of tighten it up a little bit because there's a lot of money going out, even though it's to the politicians' kids. But there's a lot of money going out of the system that's not being properly taxed. That's pretty easy, isn't it? I've got to just show you. So when you end up with a trust, someone said, how do you know it's a trust company? See if you can remember this, Phil. On our checks, what do our checks say? Does it start off Baskerville Family Trust? Trading as, no,
it
starts off with the company name.
company acting on behalf of
the trust, trading as.
Yeah.
So you end up with, it's Ambrosia,
Ambrosia Proprietary Limited.
AMBROSIA, Ambrosia Espresso. This is on our checks. As Proprietary Limited.
PTY Ltd.
As trustee for
The Basketball Family Trust.
the Basketball Family Trust,
Yeah.
trading as.
You received one of those checks, you need. What's this?
What are they supposed to write on the page?
That was inspiring. It's not, is it?
You've got well, that's the structure. You've got a proprietary limited company, but it's the trustee for the Baskerville Family Trust, which is the trading trust that trades the business, Ambrosia. So that's the structure. Now, who gets sued? The Baskerville Family Trust can't be sued because the Baskerville Family Trust is an arrangement. The legal entity there is the proprietary limited company, but the proprietary limited company is the trustee. It's just a $2 company whose job it is simply to manage the affairs of the Baskerville Family Trust. The assets basically sit in the Baskerville Family Trust. So again, you know, in that corporate veil, it can't be touched, can't be reached. You can sue this guy, but like I said, Phil Baskerville, who might have created this, says, okay, let's get rid of Ambrosia, it's copying a bit of flack, let's get rid of them, let's get another party to be and I go down and get another $750, get another proprietary limited company, and let's get them to now be the trustee. And let Ambrosia go and fight in the courts, and if they win, they get the whole $2, every bit of the $2, you know what I mean? So you can see that most funders, when they get to that stage, they just walk away and they go, well, just increase our prices the next iteration to cover that back. Any other questions on that before we have a go at doing this worksheet?
Yeah. Those profits, do they actually have to change hands? Like if you're going to pay your kids?
Yes. One of the problems of the tax, one of the problems of a trust, is you've got to distribute all your money every year. Yeah, it's only a holding place. It's not a place for storing up money. So every single dollar has to be distributed, and of course, once money gets distributed, someone ends up having to pay tax. So that's why the government